पधारो हमारे देश, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে, তবে একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো রে। যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে।
बरसने लागी बदरिया रूम झूम के, बरसने लागी बदरिया रूम झूम के, रूम झूम रूम झूम रूम झूम के, बरसने लागी बदरिया रूम झूम के, बरसने लागी।
तोरे नैना की लागी कटार सजनी, चैन पावे न मनवा हमार सजनी, चैन पावे न मनवा हमार सजनी। तोर नैना नैना रे तोर नैना की लागी कटार सजनी।
pani sari gari sari pagari gari zani sa sani pava gari gari sa sani pava gari gari sa sani pava gari gari sa vata pi ganavatim bhajega vata pi ganavatim bhajegam sari gari ga sari sari ga sagari zani pani sari ga pani sari gari zani pagari vata pi ganavatim bhajegam.
So today I would like to read Zelda Scott Fitzgerald's letter. She was married to Scott Fitzgerald. You would know he was the author of Great Gatsby. And this was written in 1930 in the autumn when the nature as its brightest, but the winter is about to follow. So at that time, she wrote this letter, and she was in a sanatorium, in a clinic in Switzerland. She was not well for almost a year, and she was absolutely isolated because she was not allowed visitors. So all of us, some of us may know, because in this lockdown we've experienced that distance. We are doing this virtual meeting. So she was a glamorous actress, and always surrounded with sort of a lively scene. So what could have it meant, this tremendous isolation? So her husband used to send her flowers sometimes, and sometimes short notes, and she used to reply at length with very, very long letters. And sometimes they were very evocative, and sometimes they were very disjointed because she was not terribly well. But she expressed her love, her need, and her frustration through these letters. So for me, personally, I love her letters. They're very evocative, and it sort of reflects the mind of a woman when she's in love, and how helpless and how needy she can be. So without wasting your time, let me just read that letter. She begins, Goofy, my darling, hasn't it been a lovely day? I woke up this morning and the sun was lying like a birthday parcel on my table. So I opened it up, and so many happy things went fluttering into the air. And I remembered the feel of our skins, cool against each other in the mornings, like school mistresses. And you phoned and said, I had written something that pleased you. And so I don't believe I have ever been so heavy with happiness. The moon slips into the mountains like a lost penny, and the fields are black and pungent, and I want you near so that I could touch you in the autumn stillness. Even a little bit like that last echo of summer. The horizon lies over the road to Lausanne, and the succulent feels like a guillotine, and the moon bleeds over the water. And you're not so far away that I can't smell your hair in the drying breeze. Darling, I love these velvet nights. I've never been able to decide whether the night was a bitter enemy or a grand patron, or whether I love you most in the eternal classic half lights, where it blends with the day, or in the full religious fanfare of midnight, or perhaps in the lux of noon. Anyway, I love you most when you phone me. And just because you phoned me tonight, I walked on those telephone wires for 2 hours after holding your love like a parasol to balance me. My dear, I'm so glad you finished your story. Please let me read it Friday. And I will be very sad if we have to have 2 rooms. Please. Dear, are you sort of feeling aimless, surprised, and looking rather reproachful that no melodrama comes to pass when your work is over? As if you had ridden very hard with a message to save your army and found the enemy had decided not to attack, the way you sometimes feel. Or are you just a darling little boy with a holiday on his hands in the middle of the week, the way you also sometimes are? Or are you organizing and being dynamic and mending things the way you sometimes do? Anyway, I love you the way you always are.
Reviewing his first novel, I Too Had a Love Story, Mr. N.R. Narayanamurthy, Chairman Emeritus of Infosys Technologies, called it simple, honest, and touching. And this is the essence of today's guest, Ravinder Singh's writing. In this episode of Chasing Love Festival, organized by Prabha Khaitan Foundation, we present to you young software engineer and author Ravinder Singh. Prabha Khaitan Foundation is dedicated to various social, cultural, and welfare programs, all over India as well as abroad. Promoting literature holds a very special place in the organization, and we organize several boutique festivals as well as book launches of both well-known and also budding writers. Today's festival is dedicated to love and passion. After tragedy struck him and he lost his fiancée, author Ravinder Singh discovered the power of words, which helped him to cope with this tragedy. The cathartic experience encouraged him to take up writing full-time, and today he has 9 novels under his belt. In 2015, Ravinder ventured into book publishing with his publication house, Black Ink. In conversation with Ravinder, we have with us journalist Ms. Rashmi Menon.
Hello and welcome. I'm delighted to be in conversation with an author who is known to his fans as the king of romance. From being rejected by publishers to becoming a best-selling author and then going on to owning his very own publishing house, Ravinder Singh has come a long way. Ravinder, the first time I understood the phenomenon that you are was when I went to find out who a large gathering of youngsters were hooting for in the middle of a lit fest of all places. You're quite the goofball and a sensation on Instagram. As a writer, you own your opinions and the labels associated with you too. So, which role do you enjoy more? Who is the real Ravinder?
The real Ravinder. First, thank you for this warm set of words for me. Um, the real Ravinder is the boy next door who has a, his own perspective to look at things, look at world. Is very emotional, is very rebellious, is logical as well, big time logical, and he writes love stories. So at times they are at contrast, logic and love. They are totally opposite at times in my mind. Um, but yeah, I'm a boy next door. I write stories that I feel, I observe around me. Uh, my stories are not about that Prince Charming coming on a white or dark horse and a damsel in distress. It's about the boy next door and the girl next door. What are their problems? What are they going through? I observe. I feel emotions, and I cannot contain emotions. I have to like give it out to the world. Even though if I'm going through a heartbreak, I let it out. If I'm going through the joy of love, I'll let it out. I write all sorts of things on my Instagram. Never shied away from. I cannot contain things. I have to let it out. So I'm the boy next door who has to let it out in the universe. That's about it. That's Ravinder.
That's very evident in all your Instagram reels. They're very entertaining, and definitely, yes, the boy next door. That's what comes across. So, your latest book, Write Me a Love Story, has been
Thank you.
flying off bookshelves and was voted the most popular fiction title in 2021 by Amazon. It's a fast paced, fun read, and especially entertaining for a person like me who is from publishing, for the love
Right.
story twists and turns around the Indian publishing industry. To tell you the
Yeah.
truth, I was running for cover while reading the parts that attack the publishing industry. But since the character of the male lead, Abhimanyu, is not squeaky clean either, so I decided that everything is justified and I can forgive you. So, this entire scenario of romance author and the love hate relationship between an editor and author is very much close to home. I mean, you can't deny the similarities.
Yeah.
Right from Abhimanyu's style of dressing to his love for fitness to him being a best-selling author, etc., etc. So, will you be nice to your fans and tell them how much of the character is you, or will you go the boring way of saying it's all open to interpretations?
It's such a loaded question. Let me decode it step by step. First of all, thank you for giving me. That's point number one. I registered. I'll say when I get my turn to speak. Uh, Subjected to interpretation is actually not a boring way. I'm telling you why. If I get rid of all the mystery, I think then is when I make things boring for people. As
Right.
long as the mystery is alive, and this goes for everything, it goes for relationships also in general. The moment you have decoded your partner to the fullest, फिर लगता है कि अब कुछ बताने को बचा ही नहीं है. And then the readers would actually say, why did you tell us? Can you please go back in time? And us not knowing, the curiosity is still the time you don't know. If I tell you that, Rashmi, there is a new web series or there is a new book, this happens in it, you would be like, why did you tell me? Specifically, books are about unfolding something in your head. The visuals unfold on the basis of the words that I write. Now, I will define that, okay, Abhimanyu had curly hair, but I'm not giving the it is still a different visual in different mind out there. Having said that, there is a lot of me in Abhimanyu. There is a lot of me in Asmita as well, in different way. I'm not going to tell you what part of it is me in Abhimanyu, apart from the dressing sense. I'll tell you something very interesting that happened. There is a description of Abhimanyu when he gets off at the parking lot and steps out, and he's wearing, and I landed up mentioning the pink t-shirt, the khaki pants and everything, and the shoes. One of the readers actually went on my Instagram handle. She went past, I think, a year and a half ka data post, and happened to pick a picture of mine which had the entire resemblance. Like, this is you. And in my defense, I just said that, see, I have shorter hair than what I have described in the book for Abhimanyu, and hence it may not be me. So may not be. It's a knowing I mean, I knowingly wanted to play with people's mind. It's fun doing that, the tease. And I wanted them to come back and ask me. It's like, I am selfish and I wanted to do that. And by doing this, I'm not making it boring. I'm making it interesting because I want the curiosity to be alive. Yeah.
Very, very honest, but you are being quite smart here. Like you
I
have
am
been
smart.
in the book too. Like you have been in the book too. So I must tell the audience here that the story is beautifully layered. It has a story within a story and reveals so many facets of love through its main characters, Asmita and Abhimanyu. I felt that both these characters are so complex, unnervingly raw, and therefore very real. And the graph of their love story is like a roller coaster ride. So, speaking of love and its facets, I see that you have taken quite a leap from the love scenes that were sort of PG rated in previous novels to very bold and steamy ones in Write Me a Love Story. So,
Right.
how easy or difficult was this process, and what have been the reactions of your fans so far?
I'm super glad you asked this question to me. So far, I had been known as the guy who writes emotional, eternal sort of romance. And there is a scene in the book in which Abhimanyu confesses that he has been questioned by this lady So Asmita actually lands up questioning Abhimanyu, why do you stop at the kiss? Why don't you describe the whole intense chemistry, what unfolds between your protagonists? Because he says, I am leaving it to your own interpretation. I don't want to. And Asmita says that, I do understand that you want to leave this to my interpretation. However, as a reader, I want to step inside your brain the way you have led this entire scene from holding the hands to looking into each other's eyes to brushing of the lips, and you describe the kiss. But the moment you end the sentence, end that para by writing, and then they made love, and that's it. You take me back into that Doordarshan era of two flowers coming together and brushing up. I demand as a reader that you paint the entire picture through your words. Long back, I was in Chandigarh, and there was this literature festival happening next to Sukhna Lake somewhere. And there's this young girl who gets the mic, and she asked me the same question. Oh. So I can tell you that this part of this novel has come from that. And I was questioned that you are known as king of romance. Why are you limiting yourself to a kiss? Why don't you describe it? And I was like, I never intend to write, erotica. But then as an author, it's been more than a decade, 12 years I've been writing. And if I have to grow, if I have to add new paradigms to my level of writing, and I thought I must do this. And this actually, I was inspired by Sylvia Day's book, Bare to You. I was reading that and I was blown away. literally blown away. Like, oh my God, this is so sensual. I could actually feel it to a different extent that, damn, this is amazing writing and I must try this thing. And when I was writing Write Me a Love Story, I thought it's a perfect thing for my genre of romance. Um, it's a vertical integration. I write romance and erotica is somehow, it goes with the idea of romance. So I must take a leap of faith, try something new. It was challenging. It was very, I mean, it was challenging and yet it was an adventurous challenge of me writing about the intense scene, unfolding all the wildness in my mind onto a piece of paper on my laptop and wondering that, have I done it right? Is it too much? And then I landed up taking feedback from women, my focus group, fellow authors, that do you think does it read nice to you? I was very sensitive. I am a very sensitive person otherwise also. And I had to take feedback of them because how do they read it? Is it looking vulgar? Just because I'm an author doesn't give me a license that whatever I will write will, fly off the shelf and people will like it. So I took the feedback and I was given like thumbs up by all of them. And I was wondering, no, this can't be true. You have to please find flaws in it. There were certain words they said, can you omit these words? Can you bring down the description of certain body parts, let's say? I did that. 95% of it didn't change. Only 5% I changed. For that matter, rest of the book, I think 10% of the book would have changed. But when it comes to the erotic part, I thoroughly enjoyed that. And the feedback has been super good. Like and I'm not, blowing my own trumpets here, but some of them were like, why didn't you write erotic scenes in the previous 8 novels that you wrote? And I was like, okay, that's a great thing to know. That's the story of why I chose to write. And this part of the conversation of what triggered in my real life has been mentioned through Abhimanyu's character in this particular book out there.
Interesting. Was it liberating?
Very much, very much. And also, people actually picked up their favorite scenes.
Oh.
And that scene, that kitchen slab scene, or there is a scene in which Abhimanyu goes to the publishing house and he's making love to this girl. There's a kiss scene surrounded by books. I have lived this scene in my head so many times, much ahead of writing Write Me a Love Story. But it was a perfect place to plug that scene. The author and the editor kissing each other in a publishing house, books falling. It's like a paper town out there. It was a perfect place for me to go and pitch these scenes.
So now that we are talking of your writing process, I'd like to know how you mentally prepare yourself for writing your romantic characters. Is there a process to it, or is it sudden inspiration that makes you want to sit at your laptop and type away for hours? How is it? How does it go?
So what happens when we talk about sudden inspiration, I would come across, let's say, some character, something I have seen, some person I have observed, or I read something, or I watched something in some movie scene. There are certain moments that trigger, okay, aisa bhi ho sakta hai. Like these are emotions that I capture. And then I would pen down these emotions in my own way. So I would make a note of it on my phone, that later on when I'm going to do it, I will plug these things out there. However, when it comes to characters, nothing is sudden. It's a well thought of process when I'm making a character sketch of how an Asmita would look like what are her strengths and her weaknesses. What would Abhimanyu look like? What would be the complexities of these two? Of course, these are protagonists. And yet, if you see, Abhimanyu is not clean white. Asmita has her own challenges,
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
neither of them is wrong. So my characters would be as real as possible. There is nobody out there in the world. Hero is never right. Like, he is not all right, all perfect. Neither is my heroine all perfect. They all have their flaws. So these are constructed over a period of time in my head. However, having said that, let me also tell you what was the most comfortable thing for me here in this case. Uh, it was the comfort of the domain, that I'm writing a book which is set at a publishing house. It's a story between an author and an editor. I am so comfortable with the whole idea of publishing house, the manuscripts, the literature festivals, the book jackets. There are whole scenes wherein we are talking about book jackets. Um, that was my comfort area, and because I had something as a comfort area, something I wanted to try new is the erotica part, and rest of it, there are emotions that I would have plugged through my experiences. But the characters, the story was well thought of. It never happened suddenly. It's like for months I would have that story in my head, and the plot was there in my head for like past 3-4 years, that I had to write a story which is set in a publishing house.
Very interesting. And I do agree that, there's a very real feel to the way you describe emotions, the good, the bad, and the ugly, which made me think of, how when we grow up, we witness love stories within the family or friend circle. So has that happened to you? And if yes, were you at any point inspired by them?
Love stories unfolding in my family, is that the question?
Family or friend circle, something that you witnessed in your life?
Yeah. So for this particular book, there is a part of couples who are in my close circle and their thought process. What do they disagree on? And if I participate in their discussion, and I would look like, it's, why do you think he's wrong and why do you think she's wrong? So when these questions come up, and when they say, where do you stand, and I have to take my stand, and it could be either in their favor, one of their favors, or I may have a total different stand. For example, lot of people, lot of readers, because the way the book is written, because in the end Abhimanyu is saying, sorry to Asmita.
Yes.
The perception is that this guy was wrong. In my mind, as an author, as a creator of these characters, I don't think Abhimanyu is wrong when he says, I don't want to marry, because marriage looks like, a circle to me, and I'll be confined. I think, but the way he perceives, this guy only wants to date, he just wants to have sex, and he doesn't want to marry, he's a wrong guy. No, it's his wish. He is vocal about it. He's very honest about it. He's not the guy who kissed the girl first. It happened the other way around. And I also bring the whole Me Too angle in this, because tomorrow the girl can, this is so much real. Gone through a whole Me Too phase. There were right kind of cases lodged. There were right kind of victims. There were wrong kinds of victims also, who took the opportunity and blamed, just because I am a woman and I have this opportunity to settle a score, settle my scores against somebody else. So I am bringing all of these seen in the world unfolding, and yet people perceive that most of them would perceive that Abhimanyu is wrong, because he never said, I am in a relationship, or I want to be in a relationship with you. He just kept following all the cues that Asmita was giving. So tomorrow, if I have to twist the story and make Asmita the bad girl, I can make that. But I am giving the whole gray, that of them is a shade of pure white, and we are all gray. There are shades of gray out there. That goes in the book.
Absolutely. That's what makes your characters so real. Like, you think that, you might just be knowing such a person somewhere.
Yeah.
So, and Well, so you are known as the king of romance in Indian publishing, and there's only one other person who is known by the same label, but in a different industry, and that is Shah Rukh Khan. So that's a fabulous label to be known by. But I do feel that there's a lot more to your books than romance. For example, in one of your previous books, you have tried to convey a message regarding road safety. So,
Yes.
what is it you have in mind while writing the story? What do you want your readers to know?
So for there are certain books in which I ended up writing romance because romance is the wrapper people get excited to pick. The product inside this wrapper would be something else. My idea to write Your Dreams Are Mine Now was to tell that politics we should talk about. We should not say stay away from politics. I don't want to know who is fighting the elections. Student youth politics, we should be aware. We live in democracy. The whole idea was that. But if I tell people, guys, I'm talking about democracy and politics come, nobody would read. So I wrap everything in a wrapper of romance. I will make a love story. Will You Still Love Me is about road safety.
Yes.
But if I tell guys this book is on road safety, people say, "Sir, nahi padna hai." So I will wrap the entire thing in the wrapper of romance and serve it. My agenda with certain books is the message that I want to pass, but of course I will serve it on a platform. My agenda with Write Me a Love Story is pure entertainment, and it's absolutely right. There are at times there are people who ask that, so what message does this book give? And my point is, this is not a non-fiction, this is a fiction. Not I will not pass on message with every book of mine. I will pass on message with certain books of mine, and with certain books there will be purely 100% entertainment. And yet what I'm talking about in this book is the subject of plagiarism,
Right.
which only certain people in our industry or in the creative industry understand and feel the pain. I remember when I was bringing this book out, we played a prank. When I say we, as in my friend Durjoy and I played a prank on Instagram. It was 1st April, so technically we got the right to fool people. But in the garb of fooling people, that Durjoy complained that I stole his story, and I said, "What a liar you are!" We had a drama
I remember
going on,
that.
and
Yeah.
Acha, so people actually thought that. And the next day we were doing a live on 1st of April afternoon. We were doing a live, and there were like 60,000 viewers had joined us just because we did this drama, and just because he said that, shame on you, you copied my content and now you're releasing a book. And I said, you are a liar, you did that thing. This happens in this particular book between the two authors out there.
Yes.
So my idea was to bring plagiarism out there, to tell people how it hurts. Rest of the non-creative industry would never, understand it with that gravity. But
True,
it's
true.
going to hurt me if my work is stolen. And for others, it would be like news. Acha, somebody stole your work. Okay, let's move on to something else. But for me to take this out, that what it means, that could be an end of the career, end of a book, somebody stealing somebody else's song. There's so much happening in Bollywood. Big production houses simply copy pasting. I'm fighting a legal suit for I Too Had a Love Story. Somebody down south made a movie out of it. I'm still fighting that. It's my story that I wrote as a tribute to my dead girlfriend in the year 2008. And somebody just did that. It hurts me. So I talk about plagiarism in this particular book. But having said that, my idea to write a fiction is first entertainment, and second, the whole message that I'm trying to bring forth.
Right. So I see this book becoming a movie, or maybe with some more additions from you, a web series. So there is this very popular web series called Younger in the US, and it's also based on publishing. And I think it's high time India has one too. So in case that happens, which actors do you think would be perfect for the role of Asmita and Abhimanyu?
I just want, the way things are running in our country, there is so much talk of books getting adapted, and yet very few books genuinely get adapted. I mean, there's a whole talking that happens. So for the timing, I would be very happy if this is getting done, just because there's so much of demand out there. And as an author, I want my story to be consumed in different formats out there. Having said that, my all-time favorite has been Deepika, Alia, but I'm not even curious about Asmita. I'm just curious about who is the guy who's going to play the author here. And I just for that I land up thinking about Ranbir as the guy. But
Okay.
again, it depends on how things unfold, if at all things happen.
So Ranbir for Abhimanyu and Alia or Deepika for Asmita. Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Yeah, I
Oh.
think Alia for Asmita.
I think she would fit in perfectly for that. So we are running out of time, but I think it would be nice to end this session on a light note. So I have a set of rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
So Ravinder, are you ready for this?
Yes, I'm very much ready for this.
Okay. So question number 1. Tell us the funniest pickup line that someone has tried on you.
Funniest? This is rapid fire you're making. I thought it would be yes or no or pick something out there. But let me recall.
Strangest, funniest.
Yeah, I think are you something of the line that do you believe in love at first sight or should I walk by you again? Yeah.
Did it work on you?
No. None of the pickup lines worked on me.
Okay, your most awkward moment on a date.
I realized that the girl looked very different from what she portrayed herself on the dating app.
Happens to a lot of people. Who's your favorite author?
Khalid Hosseini, 1,000 Splendid Sun,
Sorry?
Kite Runner. Khalid Hosseini,
Khalid Hosseini.
1,000 Splendid Sun, Kite Runner, yeah.
Okay. So, do you ever imagine yourself as the hero in a movie adaptation of your book?
Yes.
I
So
think
with a
you'll be
very
good at
difficult
it.
heart,
You're
with
a
a very
good
difficult
actor.
with a very difficult heart, I said Ranbir. And I told you, right? Forget about Asmita. I'm keen कि वो लड़का कौन होगा.
Producers, look out. This man can act really well. You can see the proof on all his Instagram reels.
I will discount on my adaptation, on my option rights.
Okay, name 2 of your favorite contemporary romance authors or novels.
Contemporary romance authors or novels. Novels I would do.
Okay.
Notebook.
Yeah.
And The Year I Met You is by Cecilia Ahern's P.S. I Love You.
That's a lovely book. Okay. Will you ever think of writing nonfiction?
Yes, I am thinking.
Yes.
And again, it's going to be on romance only.
Of
A
course it
nonfiction
has to
on
be.
love.
Of course it has to be. Okay. And the last question. Please, can you share an unforgettable experience you've had in the publishing industry?
Unforgivable. There's just one experience much before, and I have talked about this n number of times. So, but because you asked me, which is why I'm telling you this. Much before I became an author, and this is the last publishing house that was on my list, who had not rejected my work, and it's a multinational one. I was at their premises just because they were not responding to my emails. So I landed up there without taking a meeting request. And I was 26 years young back then, madly, so Punjabi blood, 26. I said, to hell with the publishing houses who have rejected me, to hell with the phone calls, to hell with the emails, they are not responding. I took a Shatabdi from Chandigarh, landed up in Delhi at this particular publishing house. There was a whole chaos, ruckus that I had unknowingly created because the receptionist said, you are not supposed to be here, please leave. There came an editor and I said that 8 months back I had submitted my work. You have not responded to it. And then somebody said, if we have not responded, we would have trashed it somewhere. Can you please get out and look for it in the dump of Delhi, but leave our premises. So there came a guard and he held my shoulder and I'm like,
oh my God.
So that remains that's something I can never forget till the last breath. And many years later, not many years, in fact, 2 years later, that publishing house happened to know about there's a book called I Too Had a Love Story. It has become a bestseller, and they wrote to me that, Ravinder, we got to know you and your book. Are you writing your second one? Because we would love to publish. They didn't know that they were the one who had actually pushed me out of the publishing house. So that remains a sweet story in my head now.
And the rest, as they say, is history. And you are where you are right now. And that brings us to the end of this fun session. Thank you, Ravinder, for being such a good sport. Thank you, Prabha Khaitan Foundation, for providing us with such a wonderful platform. And a big thank you to Shiny Anthony, a fabulous writer, poet, columnist, and curator of Chasing Love. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashmi, for moderating this with these fabulous questions that you had for me. Thank you.
On behalf of the Foundation, I'd like to thank Mr. Ravinder Singh and Ms. Rashmi Menon for this wonderful session. I would also like to express my gratitude to our presenter, She Cement Limited. Last but not the least, I would like to thank our audience and patrons, without whom none of these sessions would have been possible. Thank you.